This month, I am continuing my project on the review of various products from BCW. And this month, I knew that I wanted to do one on bags and boards. And I've been brainstorming, and I was thinking that I was gonna make a humorous video on bags and boards, and then I realized that bags and boards really aren't funny. And I thought, well, maybe I can make it sexy. And then I thought to myself, but bags and boards really aren't sexy. And I thought that right up until I saw this. That is sexy. If you want to know about bags and boards, stay tuned to this video. This content is sponsored by BCW Supplies. Visit them at bcwsupplies.com. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to do a review of bags and boards from BCW. Now that might not sound like an exciting topic, but it actually is, because what I hope to do is to be able to show you guys some of the features and the functionalities and the benefits of these bags and boards, but also be able to answer some questions that you guys might have about bags and boards. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I had a lot of questions about bags and boards, even though I've been using bags and boards forever. There were some things that I honestly did not know. And so what I want to try to do is to address some of those frequently asked questions, maybe some of those unknown tidbits as it relates to bags and boards, and then also show you guys the product line that BCW offers, because they have a whole lot more products than what I actually realized before I got that amazing poster that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So the way that I think I'm going to do this video is that I want to break it up into some manageable chunks. There is a lot of information to cover, and I don't want to spread it across multiple videos. So again, what I'll probably do is to do some chapters within this video just to make it a little bit more digestible and palatable for you guys. Let's take a moment to talk about the comic book backing board in a little more detail. And while you may look at this and think that a comic backing board is super simple, it is, but there's actually some chemistry involved in this. If you've paid attention, you would notice that comic book backing boards actually have two sides to them. One side is a shiny side and one side is a dull side. And you may have even asked yourself, does it matter what side comes into contact with the comic? And the truth of the matter is that it actually does. The reason for that is that the shiny side is actually coated with bicarbonate, and bicarbonate is a base. Comics are printed on acidic paper, and so when you have an acid that comes in contact with a base, that being bicarbonate, the base actually neutralizes the acid, at least for a certain period of time. So if you have a comic, you want to make sure that you put it on the shiny side of the backing board and then place that comic and that board into a proper fitting bag. As a general rule of thumb, you want to replace your comic book boards every 3 to 5 years. Now, if you take excellent care of your collection, you rotate your books, you keep them in a cool, dry environment, you may actually be able to go a little bit longer than that 3 to 5 year time frame that I just mentioned. But if your books are exposed to moisture, like in a basement, or extreme temperatures because they're in a storage unit or something like that, you may want to replace your backing boards a little more frequently. So let's go a little bit deeper into backing boards. I can tell you for a fact that I have inadvertently purchased the wrong size backing board more times than I care to mention. But that is the reason why I'm actually doing this section of the video, to help people like me that don't maybe pay the closest attention when they're at the comic shop and buy the wrong size board and then get home and realize that and have a little frustration because that wrong size board doesn't fit the way that all the others fit in the bin. I am a big fan of uniformity, and so that just throws me off. And so I have to make another trip back to the comic shop to get the proper backing board. So I want to prevent that for you guys. So what I want to do is to spend just a couple of moments talking about a few of the different size backing boards that you have available to you. So let's first talk about the backing boards for modern comics or current comics. And that time frame is really any comic that was printed from 1970 to present day. There are two options that you have available to you for backing boards for those type of books. Now, what's important about this is that either backing board will really work. The difference really is in the eye appeal and what you want your book to look like. And I say that because essentially the backing boards come in slightly different sizes, where one is just a little bit bigger, and it's bigger so as to provide a nice white border completely around the book. So you have the ability to kind of center the comic on the backing board and have it framed up by a white border. There are a lot of people that actually don't like that and just want to only see the artwork when they look at a comic book. And so that's why there are two different sizes, and one is the current and one is the modern. Both of them will actually work for any comic book from 1970 all the way to the present day. And so if you have those two boards, what you can notice is that there is a slight difference in the size between the modern and the current. The current is a little larger and will essentially give you that white border around the comic, whereas if you are using a modern backing board, you will not be able to see the board, generally speaking, because the comic will come right to the very edge of this particular backing board. Now let's turn our attention to Silver Age books, specifically those that were printed between 1956 and 1969. Again, here there are two sizes that are available and both will work for those type of books. So you have a regular and you also have a silver. In this case, the regular is the one that fits pretty much to the size of the comic, whereas the silver will give you that nice white border around the book. And again, these are general sizes because, as you guys know, books from different publishers over time come in slightly different sizes. So these are general rules of thumb to have. Your regular will be a little smaller and your silver will be a little larger. So we've gone over the current / modern and the regular and silver. And so I'm certain there are those of you out there that are golden age comic book lovers, and you're probably wondering whether BCW actually has something for golden age comics. And of course, the answer is yes. There is a golden age backing board that has the same setup, if you will, as some of the other backing boards, in the sense that it is two-sided, with one side being a coated side and one side being a dull side. I do believe, however, that this backing board only comes in one size. I should also mention that the Golden Age backing board is really set up for those comics that were printed from 1938 to 1955. And if you have other types of comics and you want to check to see whether BCW has a backing board that will fit those books, just head over to their website and I'm sure that you'll be able to find something that will meet your needs. So we've spoken a little bit about the backing boards, and now I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about bagging options. As you would imagine, BCW has a pretty wide assortment of bagging options, but I want to try to break it down. I want to try to make it simple. The vast majority of my collection actually sits in poly bags, and poly bags are a relatively inexpensive option to provide protection to your comic. And that's protection in addition to what you actually get from a high quality, affordable backing board with the bicarbonate that we've already spoken about. The bag, the poly bag, essentially provides some added protection from the overall environment, from dust, mold, mildew, etc., etc. And so making sure that you have a proper fitting bag, one that is closed, is a great way to kind of create that micro environment that your comic ultimately needs in order to extend its life expectancy. The first product that I want to tell you about is the poly bag that is designed for the current/modern comic. This particular poly bag will accommodate either size of the backing board that I showed you earlier today, the one with either the white border or the one without the white border. Each one of these bags that I'm about to show you is essentially 2 mils thick. So it is thick enough, again, for the vast majority of the comics that might be in your collection. So the first option is your basic poly bag. There are 100 poly bags in here. This is the one with the flap at the top that has to be closed in the back. I am a big fan of using painter's tape to actually close up the bag, but this is your standard comic book bag for a modern, current comic. Now, if you wanted to take a step up from this, that option would actually be one with a resealable tab. So instead of having to use a piece of painter's tape or scotch tape, this one actually has a adhesive strip on the back side. So when you fold the flap down, it actually adheres to the bag itself. I actually really like these because it prevents you from having to go out and buy tape. Everything that you need is self-contained right here in the bag. Now, one of the things that you might know is if you've gone out and bought any of the modern comics that are a little supersized, a little thicker, like your ASM 800, for example. That particular book was, 80 pages or something like that? That won't fit in your standard current modern bag. You're going to need something a little bit different, and that's where this option actually comes in. So this is a poly bag, 100 count, 2 mil thick for modern current comics. It has a resealable closure like the one that I just showed you, but it's also for thicker comics. The bag is not thicker. It is actually the depth of the bag that is thicker to accommodate a thicker, oversized comic. When we turn our attention to the regular and Silver Age poly bags, the setup is essentially the same as what we just looked at for the current and modern comics. Unfortunately, I don't have the base model bag available, so I'm actually going to start off with the regular silver bag that has the resealable closure. Again, this is a great option for those people that don't want to buy adhesive tape. This one has that adhesive strip on the back side. It is a great option for some of your older comics. And just like the newer books, there are some Silver Age books, some annuals, some supersized issues that are a little thicker. And that's where you also have the option of your regular Silver Age bag with the resealable closure that also is designed for the thicker comics. As you would imagine, BCW also has an option for those of you out there that like Golden Age books. You have the exact same setup as the modern books and the Silver Age books in that you have a basic poly bag with the version that has the flap that has to be taped down. There is the one with the resealable closure, and then there is also the option of the resealable closure with a thicker bag for those thick Golden Age comics. And for those of you out there that also have slabs, it brings me great pleasure to let you guys know that BCW also has graded poly bags for slabs with a resealable closure. This too is a 2 mil thick poly bag, 100 bag count option. One of the things that I like to do on the weekends when I have a little free time is I actually do my bagging board setups. And what I mean by that is I will basically take a board and marry it to a bag, and I'll do that over and over and over, and I'll run through bag after bag and have a nice stack of bags and boards ready to go. So when I go out and I buy comics, or it's time for me to turn over one of my comic book bins and kind of update my bags and boards, I already have a ton of bags and boards like ready to rock, and I don't have to do it in the moment. And so it's just one of those things that I just enjoy doing on the weekend. But I know that not everyone likes doing that. And so does BCW. And so for that reason, they have actually created a set of pre-made bags and boards. So you don't even have to do your own bag and board setups. You can actually buy some of these things already set up for current, silver, and golden age. They come with the basic flap where you have to tape it down yourself, and also with the resealable closure as well. So those of you that don't like to do your own bag and board setups, you are covered as well. Let's say that you have a comic in your collection that is worth some money. You may want to present that book a little bit better than your common book in your collection. And I actually have a lot of books like this, and so I'm kind of speaking from experience. And when I have those books, I actually like to put them into archival bags. A poly bag is archive quality materials, yes, but those materials that are used are a little soft. When you have a Mylar bag or an archival bag from BCW, they are using a higher quality material, and the bags are a little harder, and they also make the book look a whole lot better. And so when I have those books that are worth, $20, $30, $40 and up, I tend to spend a little bit more money on my bags and go with an archival option. And so BCW also offers the archival bags, the Mylar bags, in a couple of different options. This is the modern, current, and this is a 2 mil thick bag. This bag is the same thickness as your regular poly bag. The difference, of course, being in the materials that go into the construction of this. But let's say that you wanted to step your game up even more. You could actually go with a 4 mil option. That is, of course, 2 times thicker than this particular bag that I'm holding in my hand. And so the option of 2 mil and 4 mil comes with both the modern and the current, the regular and the silver, and of course the golden age bags as well. One of the other things that I want to mention to you as it relates to the archival bags is that the boards that I showed you earlier that were appropriate for a poly bag will also work in your archival bags as well. So it doesn't matter which board you choose, whether it's with the white border or without, for either the modern, the silver, or the golden, those same boards will work in your archival bags as well. And just like with the poly bag, you should replace those boards every 3 to 5 years unless you're taking excellent care of your collection. And if you are, you may be able to go a little bit longer than that 3 to 5 year time horizon. In a previous video that I did, I actually spotlighted BCW's graded and raw comic book bins. And one of the things that people raised in the comment section is that they wanted me to tell them the prices for the bin. And one of the reasons why I was hesitant to do that is because I didn't really know where people were going to go shopping for their bins, because BCW is available in a lot of different places. You can actually go to bcwsupplies.com and actually purchase your materials from there. And if you spend $80, you actually will get free shipping. The other thing that you can always do is go to your local comic shops. BCW actually works really closely with comic shops to ensure that they have the materials that you need to protect your collection. And so sometimes your comic shops have some flexibility when it comes to pricing. Sometimes they have sales. Sometimes they offer discounts to some of their preferred customers. So I would definitely encourage you to first go to your local comic shop, support them, pick up these materials directly from them. And if you're unable to do that, then you can always go to BCW's website. And again, I'm not going to tell you the prices because I don't know what your local comic shop is going to charge you. But what I will tell you is that all of these materials, the bags and boards, the archival materials, all of these things are affordably priced. So if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or concerns, don't hesitate to post up a comment or send me a message. One of my pet peeves, well, I should say another one of my pet peeves with bags and boards is an ill-fitting bag and board. And what I mean by that is if I have a book that is inside of a bag, I want that book to fit securely. I don't want it to be moving around because the bag is too thick or too oversized for that particular book. And so you want to take a little time to make sure that when you are selecting a bag and board setup, that it is appropriate for the book that you are actually placing in that particular setup. And oftentimes what I do is I actually will set up current poly bags and boards, silver age bags and boards, and I don't have any golden age, so I don't go there. But my point is that I will actually have different setups on hand ready to go. So if I'm rebagging and boarding a box, I can just kind of fly through it, and where I need to, I can just grab a different size bag or board to accommodate whatever that book is that I happen to encounter. Whether it is a thicker issue, an oversized issue, I try to make sure that I have materials on hand to accommodate whatever it is that I might encounter as I'm rebagging and boarding books. Be sure to visit BCW Supplies to learn about their 950 plus products for collectors. Products include card sleeves, display cases, comic bags, storage boxes, and gaming folders, just to name a few items. Head over to bcwsupplies.com today for more information.